He saved his billionaire boss, then discovered he was his brother. The black SUV sped through the busy streets of New York City. It was seconds away from crushing him. Move! Damian didn't think. He ran. The sound of tires screaming filled the night. The car jumped the curb, heading straight for Ebuka. Damian reached him just in time and shoved him hard. "Sir!" The impact came fast, a loud hit. Damian's body slammed against the hood, then crashed onto the road. Everything went silent for a second. Then chaos. People started shouting. "Oh my God! Call 911!" Ebuka stood frozen, his heart pounding. His expensive suit was now covered in dust and blood. He looked down. Damian was on the ground, not moving. Ebuka rushed to him and dropped to his knees. Hey, stay with me," he said, shaking him gently. Damian's eyes opened slowly. He looked weak. His lips moved. "Sir, are you okay?" Ebuka froze. This man just risked his life for him. I'm fine, Ebuka said quickly. "Don't talk. Help is coming." Damian gave a faint nod, then his eyes closed. Hey, stay awake," Ebuka shouted. Sirens filled the air.
Welcome to Love and Lies Tales, where passion meets betrayal, and every story hides a dark secret. Please like, subscribe, and turn on your notification for more intriguing stories. Tell me in the comment section which city you're watching from, and what day did this video find you on?
24 hours earlier, Damian in his small apartment in Queens. He sat on the edge of his small bed, tying his worn-out shoes. His apartment was quiet. Too quiet. "Another long day," he muttered. His phone buzzed. He glanced at his phone. Message from Mark, his landlord. "Hey Damian, rent's overdue. Can you get that taken care of today? Late fee kicked in on the 5th. Damian shook his head. "I'll figure it out," he whispered. He always said that. At work, Damian stood at his usual spot near the entrance of Coal Industries in downtown Manhattan. Big glass doors, expensive cars pulling in and out, people in suits walking past him like he didn't exist. "Morning, Damian," one of the cleaners said. "Morning," he replied with a small smile. A black car pulled up. Everyone straightened. "Mr. Cole is here." Ebuka Cole stepped out. Sharp suit. No smile. He walked past everyone without saying a word. Damian nodded respectfully. "Good morning, sir." Ebuka didn't respond. He just kept walking. Damian didn't take it personal. He was used to it. Later that afternoon, Damian sat with his co-worker Jake during break. Jake shook his head. "Man, this job will drain you," Damian laughed softly. "It's better than nothing." Jake leaned closer. "You ever talk to the boss?" Damian shook his head. "No, not really," Jake smirked. "They say he's worth billions, but lives like he trusts nobody." Damian shrugged. "That kind of money changes people." Jake looked at him. "If you had that kind of money, what would you do?" Damian didn't think long. "I'd buy a house first." Jake went quiet. That evening, Damian was about to clock out when he noticed something strange. A man stood across the street, watching the building. Not just watching, studying. Damian frowned. He walked closer to the glass doors, pretending to check something. The man quickly looked away. Damian's instincts kicked in. "Something's not right," he muttered. The next morning, Damian reported it. "I think someone is watching the building," he told his supervisor. The man barely looked up. "We get that all the time." "No, this felt different," Damian insisted. The supervisor sighed. "Damian, just focus on your job." Damian clenched his jaw. "All right, sir." That same day, Ebuka sat in his office, staring at an old file. Inside was a picture. 2 baby boys, same eyes. One had a small mark on his neck. Ebuka touched his own neck.
He had the same mark. His assistant knocked. "Sir, your meeting is ready." Ebuka closed the file quickly. "I'm coming." Back downstairs, Damian spotted the same man again. This time, he wasn't alone. Damian walked toward Jake. "Do you see those guys?" Jake glanced. "Yeah. What about them?" "They've been around since yesterday." Jake shrugged. "Maybe clients?" Damian shook his head. "No. They're watching." That night, the building started to empty. Damian stayed alert. His eyes moved constantly. Then his phone buzzed again. His landlord again. He sighed and put it away. "Not now," he said under his breath. Upstairs, Ebuka finished his last meeting. "Cancel my other appointments tomorrow," he told his assistant. "Yes, sir." He grabbed his coat and headed out. Damian saw him coming. He also saw something else. Headlights, moving fast, too fast. His heart jumped. No. Everything clicked at once. This wasn't random. This was planned. Damian dropped everything and ran. "Sir!" Ebuka turned, confused. That's when Damian pushed him, and the world crashed. Back to the present. Damian was rushed to a nearby hospital in New York. Ebuka sat in the hospital's waiting room, his hands shaking. Hospital lights, machines beeping. A doctor walked out. "Are you family?" Ebuka paused. "He's just my employee." The doctor nodded. "He's in critical condition. He lost a lot of blood." Ebuka swallowed hard. "What do you need?" "We need a blood donor. His type is rare." Ebuka didn't hesitate. "Test me." He sat in silence as they drew his blood. Minutes felt like hours. A nurse came back, surprised. "Sir, you're a match." Ebuka looked up. "Really? It's the exact same rare blood type." Ebuka leaned back slowly. "What a coincidence." He muttered under his breath. He looked through the glass again. At Damian, the man who saved his life. The man he barely noticed before today. Now fighting to survive because of him. Ebuka whispered, "Who are you?" Ebuka sat alone in the hospital waiting area. The place was quiet, but his mind was loud. Same blood type. Rare. Too rare to ignore. He rubbed his hands together, trying to stay calm. "This is just coincidence," he muttered. A nurse walked up to him. "Sir, the transfusion is working. He's stable for now." Ebuka nodded slowly. "Can I see him?" "Just for a minute." Ebuka stepped into the room. Damian lay still, tubes connected to his body, machines blinking beside him. He looked different, not just like a worker anymore. Ebuka studied his face, the shape of his jaw, his eyes, even though they were closed. Something felt familiar. The doctor walked in quietly. "Mr. Cole." Ebuka turned. "Yes?" "We ran some routine checks while preparing the transfusion." Ebuka's eyes narrowed. "And?" The doctor hesitated. "Your blood didn't just match. It aligned in ways we don't usually see between strangers." Ebuka stared at him. "Okay?" The doctor took a breath. "I think we should run a DNA test." Silence filled the room. Ebuka let out a short laugh. "You're saying what exactly?" "I'm saying there may be a biological connection." Ebuka's face hardened. "That's not possible." But deep down, he remembered the file, the picture, 2 babies. "I'll do the test," Ebuka said firmly. The doctor nodded. "We'll need his consent when he wakes up." Ebuka glanced at Damian. "I'll handle that." Hours passed. Ebuka didn't leave. His assistant called. "Sir, the board meeting." "Cancel it." "Sir, investors are—" "I said cancel it." There was silence on the other end. "Yes, sir." Late that night, Damian finally moved. His fingers twitched. Ebuka noticed immediately and, Hey, can you hear me?" Damian's eyes slowly opened. Everything looked blurry. He blinked. "Where am I?" "You're in the hospital," Ebuka said. Damian tried to sit up but winced in pain. "Easy," Ebuka said quickly. "You took a bad hit." Damian looked at him. Then his eyes widened slightly. "Sir?" Ebuka nodded. "Yeah." Damian swallowed. "Are you okay?" Ibuka paused. Even now, that was his first concern. "I'm fine," Ibuka said quietly. Damian let out a small breath of relief. "Good." There was a moment of silence. "You saved my life." Damian blinked. "You're lucky," he said softly. Ibuka almost smiled. "Lucky?" Damian nodded weakly. "Yeah, I move fast." Ibuka shook his head slightly. "You almost died." Damian looked at him. "But I didn't." Ibuka hesitated, then said, "Why did you do it?" Damian frowned. "Do what?" "Jump in front of a car? For me?" Damian looked confused. "Because it was my job." Ibuka stared at him. "That's it?" Damian shrugged slightly. "And it was the right thing to do." Ibuka looked away. He wasn't used to people like this. No hidden agenda, no fear, no greed, just real. "There's something else," Ibuka said after a moment. Damian looked at him. "What is it?" Ibuka took a breath. "We have the same blood type." Damian blinked. "Okay. It's rare." Damian shrugged weakly. "Guess we're both special." Ibuka didn't smile. "I want to run a DNA test." That got Damian's attention. "A DNA test?" "Yes. Why?" Ibuka looked straight at him. "Because I think we might be related." Damian stared at him. Then he laughed, a weak, confused laugh. "Sir, I think you hit your head too." Ibuka didn't react. "I'm serious." Damian's smile faded. "Wait, you're not joking?" "No." Damian went quiet. He stared at the ceiling, processing. "That's not possible," he said slowly. "That's what I said," Ibuka replied. Another silence. Then Damian spoke again. "I grew up in foster care in Houston before moving to New York." Ibuka's eyes sharpened. "You what?" "I never knew my real parents," Damian said. "No records, nothing." Ibuka felt something twist inside him. "That's not normal," he said. Damian chuckled lightly. "My whole life isn't normal." Ibuka walked closer. "I was adopted," he said. Damian turned his head. "What?" "When I was a baby," Ibuka continued, "there were complications, missing records." Damian stared at him. Now it didn't sound like a joke anymore. "You think?" Damian started, then stopped. Ibuka nodded slowly. "I don't know yet, but I need to find out." Damian looked unsure. "This is a lot." "I know." Damian took a deep breath, then nodded. "Okay." Ibuka blinked. "Okay." "Run the test," Damian said. "Let's see." The next day the test was done. Now they had to wait. And waiting felt worse than anything. Damian rested in his hospital bed. Ibuka sat nearby, unusually quiet. They didn't talk much, but the air between them had changed. Later that evening, the doctor walked in. Serious face. Ibuka stood immediately. "What is it?" Damian looked between them. "Just say it," he said. The doctor held the file tightly. "I'll be direct." The room went silent. He looked at both of them. "The results are back." Ibuka's heart pounded. Damian held his breath. The doctor spoke slowly. "You are biologically related." Silence. Heavy silence. Damian blinked. "What?" Ibuka didn't move. The doctor continued. "You share the same parents." Damian shook his head slightly. No, that's not possible." Ibuka finally spoke, his voice low. "What exactly does that mean?" The doctor looked at him. "It means you're brothers?" Ibuka stared at Damian. Damian stared at Ibuka. Neither of them spoke. Neither of them moved. Two different lives, two different worlds, one truth. Damian let out a shaky breath. This doesn't make sense." Ibuka's voice was tight. "Then we'll make it make sense." Damian looked at him again, not as his boss, but as something else, something bigger, something real. And for the first time in his life, Damian didn't feel alone. The room felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. Damian sat still. staring at Ebuka like he was looking at a stranger. Or maybe not a stranger anymore. "Brothers," Damian said slowly. The word felt strange in his mouth. Ebuka didn't respond immediately. He was trying to stay calm, but his mind was racing. "Explain everything," he said to the doctor. The doctor nodded. "We checked the DNA twice to be sure. There's no mistake." Damian shook his head. "No, there has to be." Ebuka looked at him. "Listen first." The doctor opened the file. "You were both born in the same hospital. Same day." Damian leaned forward slightly. "What?" "There were complications during delivery," the doctor continued. "From what we could trace, your mother was very young and couldn't care for both of you at the time." Ebuka's jaw tightened. "And one child was adopted legally," the doctor said, looking at Ebuka. "That's you." Damian swallowed. "And me?" The doctor hesitated. "Your records are incomplete." Damian gave a small bitter laugh. "Of course they are." Ebuka stepped in. "What does that mean exactly?" "It likely means," the doctor said carefully, "that he was placed into the system without proper documentation." Damian leaned back. "So, one child gets a family, money, a future." He looked at Ebuka. "And the other gets nothing." The words hung heavy in the air. Ebuka didn't argue, because it was true. Damian ran a hand over his face. "This is crazy." Ebuka stepped closer. "I didn't know." Damian looked at him quickly. "I didn't say you did." Another silence. Then Damian spoke again, his voice softer now. "All my life, I thought I was alone." Ebuka felt that. Deep. "I grew up moving from one foster home to another," Damian continued. "Some were okay. Some, not so much." Ebuka listened closely. "For a long time, I stopped asking questions," Damian said. "Stopped wondering where I came from." He looked at Ebuka again. "I guess I didn't expect the answer to be you." Ebuka let out a slow breath. "Same here." Damian frowned. "What do you mean?" Ebuka pulled a chair and sat down. "I found out I was adopted when I was 13, he said. Damian's eyes widened slightly. "Yeah," Ebuka continued. "I wasn't supposed to know, but I found some old files." "What did they say?" Damian asked. "Not much," Ebuka replied. "Just that I had a brother." Damian froze. "What?" Ebuka nodded. "They told me he didn't make it." Damian stared at him. "You thought I was dead?" "Yes." The room went quiet again. But this silence felt different, heavier, real. Damian shook his head slowly. "All this time?" Ebuka nodded. "I stopped looking after a while," he admitted. "I thought there was nothing to find." Damian let out a dry laugh. "Meanwhile, I was out here, struggling to survive." Ebuka looked down. Guilt hit him hard. "I didn't know," he said again. "I know." A nurse walked in briefly, checking Damian's vitals, then left. Neither of them spoke until the door closed. Finally, Damian broke the silence. "So, what now?" Ebuka looked at him. "What do you mean?" Damian shrugged slightly. "We go back to normal? I go back to being your employee?" Ebuka's face tightened. "No." Damian raised an eyebrow. "No, no," Ebuka repeated. "That's not happening." Damian watched him carefully. "Then what is?" Ebuka leaned forward. "We figure this out." Damian frowned. "Figure what out?" "Everything," Ebuka said. "Our past, what really happened, why we were separated, who our mother is." Damian took a deep breath. "This is going to take time," Ebuka nodded. "I know." Then Damian said something unexpected. "You know, it's funny." "What?" Ebuka asked. Damian smiled slightly. "All those times you walked past me, I used to think you were just another rich guy who didn't care about other people." Ebuka almost smiled. "And now?" Damian shrugged. "And now, you're my brother, my family." That hit differently. A few days later, Damian was strong enough to leave the hospital. Ebuka took care of the bills. Weeks passed. Things slowly changed. Not overnight, but little by little. They started talking more, learning about each other, sharing stories, laughing sometimes, arguing too, like real brothers. One afternoon, they visited the old hospital where they were born, trying to get answers. Some records were gone. Some people had moved on. But they found enough to understand one thing. Life didn't separate them by choice. It just happened. Standing outside, Damian looked at Ebuka. "You ever think about what life would have been like if we grew up together?" Ebuka nodded. "Yeah," Damian smiled. "Probably would have fought a lot." Ebuka smirked. "Definitely." Then Damian's expression softened. "But at least we would have known." Ebuka looked at him. "We know now." Damian nodded slowly. "Yeah, we do." Months later, things felt different. Damian no longer stood at the entrance of the building. He had a new role now, still working with Ebuka, but not beneath him, beside him. One evening, they stood on the balcony of Ebuka's office, looking over the New York skyline. Lights everywhere, life moving fast. "You ever regret it?" Ebuka asked. "Regret what?" Damian replied. "That night," Ebuka said. "Jumping in front of that car changed everything." Damian looked at him seriously. "If I didn't do that, you'd be dead," Ebuka shrugged. "Yeah, but," Damian cut him off. "No, but," he stepped closer. "I didn't just save your life," Damian said. "You gave me something I didn't even know I lost." Ebuka looked at him. "What's that?" Damian's voice softened. "Family," Ebuka smiled. A real smile this time. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Family." 2 weeks later, Damian's house. Ebuka and Damian were playing chess when Ebuka got a call from an unknown Nigerian number. He stared at his phone screen for a few seconds, then at Damian, who nodded for him to go ahead. "Hello?" "Hello?" The person on the other end hesitated. Then a voice cracked. "Ebuka, it's me. I'm your mother." Sometimes life doesn't give you answers when you want them. Sometimes it takes years, pain, and sacrifice. But when the truth finally comes, it changes everything. If this story touched you, don't forget to like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Tell me, what would you do if you found out your boss was your brother? And how would you feel about the call? Happy or sad?